For 3 days, she read every letter she never sent. Then something unbelievable happened. I wrote these for you, every word from my heart. Please, wake up, I need you.
The cafe erupted into panic. Chairs crushed. People screamed. Ada dropped to her knees beside Emeka. Emeka. His eyes were closed. His breathing was weak. The medical condition he had hidden for months was finally taking its toll. Minutes later, an ambulance rushed him to the hospital. Ada sat beside him the entire journey, holding his hand, praying, crying, refusing to let go. Hours passed. The hospital waiting room felt endless. Then a doctor finally appeared. The look on his face made Ada's heart sink. The next few days are critical. The world seemed to stop. Ada leaned against the wall, unable to speak, unable to think. Then she noticed someone sitting quietly at the far end of the waiting room. Chioma, still wearing her wedding dress, still carrying the bouquet, waiting, not for a wedding, but for the man she loved. Tears filled Ada's eyes. Neither woman spoke. Neither woman blamed the other, because both were hurting, for different reasons. That night, Ada stayed beside Emeka's hospital bed, watching the machines, listening to every breath. Then, she remembered something. The wooden box. The letters. Hundreds of them. The letters he never read. The words she never said. The next morning, Ada returned home, opened the box, and carried every single letter to the hospital. One by one, she began reading them aloud. The first letter, the 10th, the 50th, the 100th. Stories, memories, dreams, love. Every word she had hidden for 10 years. Nurses stopped to listen. Patients smiled through tears. Even doctors quietly stood outside the room. Day after day, she read, and read, and read, until finally, there was only one letter left. The last letter, the one she had finished writing before running to the campus gate. Her hands trembled as she opened it and began reading. Suddenly, a voice interrupted her. Soft, weak, but familiar. Ada. The letter slipped from her hands. Her eyes widened. Emeka was awake.
While he was unconscious, he heard every letter she never sent. You heard me? You heard everything?
Every word. I heard you.
I love you so much.
Ada. The voice was weak, barely a whisper, but it was enough. Ada froze. The letter slipped from her trembling fingers. Slowly, she looked up. Emeka's eyes were open. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ada burst into tears. Years of love, regret, fear, hope, all came crashing down at once. She grabbed his hand tightly. You scared me. Emeka smiled weakly. I know. The hospital room filled with emotion. Even the nurse standing outside wiped away tears. Then Emeka looked toward the pile of letters on the bedside table. Hundreds of them. And he asked, softly, Did you really write all those? Ada laughed through tears. Every single one. Emeka closed his eyes briefly, then whispered something unexpected. I heard them. Ada blinked. What? The letters. When I was unconscious. I heard your voice. Tears immediately filled her eyes again. Emeka smiled. I heard every memory, every joke, every dream, every time you loved me. Every time you loved me. Ada couldn't stop crying, because for 10 years, those words had lived only on paper. Now he finally knew. Later that evening, someone knocked gently on the door. It was Chioma, still graceful, still strong, but now finally at peace. She smiled warmly at them, then placed something on the table. A wedding envelope. Cancelled. The ceremony was over. The guests had gone home, and with it, An entire chapter of their lives had ended. Chioma looked at Ada, then at Emeka, and smiled. This is where my story ends, and yours begins. Before leaving, she handed Ada a small note. After Chioma disappeared down the hallway, Ada opened it. Inside were only a few words. Don't waste another 10 years. Months passed. Emeka slowly recovered. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Enough to laugh again. Enough to dream again. Enough to live. One evening, the two returned to the old campus gate, the place where everything should have begun years ago. The same tree, the same bench, the same sunset. Emeka reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring. Ada immediately began crying. Again, but this time, they were happy tears. 10 years ago, Emeka said softly. I was too afraid to ask. So I'm asking now. He knelt before her, under the same tree where they first met, and smiled. Ada, will you marry me? She never let him finish. She threw her arms around him and shouted, yes. As the sun disappeared behind the horizon, the wind carried a few loose pages from one of her old letters, and for the first time, the story was complete, because the letter she never sent had finally found its way home. Sometimes love isn't about finding the right person, it's about finding the courage to tell them.